You're noticing things are changing. Is this change typical or atypical for the person? And the question might be, who's noticing? You, them, both of you? And what's changing? We know that aging in and of itself might actually change some things. We know that living with stress, having trouble with sleep, having issues with mental health, or with changing lifestyle, location, can all add up and signal something that is different. But is it just that, or is it something more profound? It turns out it's important to notice and then to consider doing something that would allow us to recognize, this is different for this person, and it's worth looking into. Because it turns out that changes that are happening might actually allow us to do something. We might be able to reduce the impact or actually eliminate it if we identify it for what it is. But if we're so worried that it might be a brain-changing condition, neurodegeneration, dementia, then we don't give ourselves that chance to explore the opportunities that we have. We're missing that chance to fix things that could be fixed, to modify that which is modifiable. So what kind of changes am I talking about? Well, they could be affecting various parts of the brain. It could just be chemistry, or it could be chemistry and structure. So if it's deep inside the brain, it might relate to memory. I'm having a hard time holding on to details, to things. I might be having a hard time finding my way back and forth from places, or maybe I'm having difficulty keeping up with time, how much has passed, whether I've done something or not, immediately preceding when I thought I did that already. Or maybe I'm having issues with the front of my brain, the decision-making part of my brain. I'm being real indecisive, or I'm being really super impulsive, or perhaps I'm having trouble with thinking things through in a logical, reasonable way that's different from me. Or maybe I'm not looking at your point of view. I can only see it from my perspective, or maybe how I'm seeing things isn't consistent with how I've shared and seen things before. Maybe I'm not seeing myself as having problems, but you're seeing it. Well, if that's not typical, that might be something to look at. Perhaps the problem isn't there at all. Perhaps it's in the temporal lobes, the auditory processing system, where I'm having trouble finding the thing that you say, the word. Maybe I can't find names, or maybe, that may not be that atypical. That's sort of common with increasing age or with stress, but not being able to find vocabulary words when I look for them, that's a little more challenging. Or what about when I go to, it could be speech production, or it could be my ability to understand when you're telling me things. I miss things. Or maybe that's not it at all. It could be a hearing problem, or perhaps what I'm experiencing is an emotional problem where I don't even want to talk to you because what you're saying is bothering me, because I have a problem in another part of my deep primitive brain called the amygdala, where I feel threatened by things that shouldn't threaten me, or I have an unmet need and I'm having a hard time expressing that, or perhaps I'm doing things that give me pleasure, but to excess, like, gamblings, maybe buying things, maybe going places. So it might be that, or perhaps it has more to do with the back of my brain, the occipital, where I process what I see. Maybe what's going on there is I'm missing details. I look and I can't see things that are right there. Or you're startling me when you come up behind me or to the side of me. Or I'm starting to have issues when I drive with making mistakes and timing and specifics. Maybe it's a problem with balance. That would be deep inside my brain. Or perhaps it's up here where I control my body and get information in and send information out. So maybe you notice that I'm struggling a little bit with balance, coordination, detailed work. Maybe, if you're noticing things The tricky part is not to point them out and use it as a weapon. When you're noticing things might be changing, it's important to recognize I may not be noticing that. I might. We're going to talk about how do you address this, but the most important thing, is this typical for this person? If not, now's the time to raise the question. Maybe we should get this looked at. It's worth it for you and for me because it turns out starting early makes a big difference in the journey that you might be on.